Wow, looky there. StreamYard is actually working today.
Oh, okay. Then let's go out and try again.
Yeah, no, then it'll probably take another 30 minutes before it does. In the meantime, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM players. Yes, we are.
Amen.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Glory be. Woo, woo, woo.
Glory days.
No, I don't eat there anymore.
Yeah. Are you do you watch on Netflix? There's a show called Lincoln Lawyer.
Oh, I love that show.
So the whole this latest, I think it's the
Yeah.
third or fourth
Glory days.
Glory Days. Yeah.
Gloria did. She was murdered.
Gloria, I forget.
Like Desiano. I mean, she's.
I don't
I
know.
think she, if I remember, she's Filipino. Um, but his friend, but she's also dead. So
Now, see, just as I praised StreamYard, I am seeing something really weird happening.
why? What's happening?
So I have the two a laptop and my Mac Mini, and I'm loaded or in on both of them for the StreamYard thing. I'm seeing this is so weird. I'm seeing comments show up on one screen that aren't in the other screen, which is really just weird. I don't know what the deal is with StreamYard. It just never fails to be something awkward. Anyway, um, first off, it's nice to see that Bob has got a security setting so we can actually see Bob. And I'm not going to put what Bob put up just yet because there's a reason why he put that up there.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking about that. But wait a minute. Something's missing or someone is missing. What is up? He's here 1 week, gone the
I don't
next.
know. He's
He used to be
mercurial.
so dependable.
He's now mercurial.
Yeah.
Sven, where are you?
Mr. Sven. You know what? Maybe he's run out of languages. Maybe that's just it. It might be.
He's done every language and dialect on the earth now.
Yeah, he might have finally reached. It's like that when that dude, I reached the end of the internet and we've never heard from that dude again.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so let's see. Copilot, how many languages and dialects are there on the planet?
Wow. All right. Well, while you're doing that, that could have been a good stump the Godfather.
Here we go. Around 7,000 languages.
Yeah, I don't think we've gotten to all those yet.
That's just languages. The dialects are like, they said when it comes to language, the number might be significantly higher. A single language like Mandarin Chinese can have numerous dialects, right? Blah, 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 blah. So,
All right, Sven.
Sven, you got loads of leeway here.
I remember when we went to India last year for the Zoho trip. Wasn't there like a couple hundred languages throughout India?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've like, the language of Chennai is different than the language of Mumbai, which is different than the language of, Delhi and so on and so forth. And South India is a very different, like, personality type as well as look than say other states in India.
Right.
So,
Well, anyway, Sven, we've given you the sources where you can start doing the deal again. So we are hopefully getting you back to do that sometime soon. We missed that. We like our moment as Sven.
Yeah, it's important. Hopefully we can be doing that at IRL 2025.
Well, we'll be bringing the as
which we've been doing since
2009.
Whoa, that was weird.
But you mentioned.
That's why that happened. It says your browser has lost connection to your camera. Oh no.
Oh, you've gone. You.
Yeah. Take me out for a second, and then let me see.
That's like the opposite of put me in, coach.
Yeah.
Take me out, coach. All right. So while the venerable Paul Greenberg gets his camera back up and running, it almost sounds like his camera up and ran from him, but hopefully he'll catch it, and we'll be bringing him back. But in the meantime, we have some updates. I guess I was gonna let the venerable Paul Greenberg do that, but I guess I'll do that while I look for him. But anyway, CRM Playaz IRL. That means in real life. 2025, the 15th anniversary. So we've been actually doing this longer than 15 years at this point, but we have never done a like physical face-to-face live event. But on reflection, we were like, yeah, 15 years seems like a pretty good reason to do something. So what was originally going to be happening actually this week, we are doing in January 21st and 22nd. 21st is like a welcome reception kind of thing. But the full day of the January 22nd, it's going to be fun. We think it's going to be fun. We're inviting a whole bunch of folks. It's an invite only event. We're a whole bunch of folks that we know in the industry, influencers, analysts, people we just like it, vendors, 200 folks or so. It's going to go down in Atlanta, in Buckhead, and now he's back. And you're there.
I am.
Did you hear what I was saying?
Yeah, I heard every word.
All right.
You can pick it up. Though, the profile I use to take care of the palette view of my face you now have doesn't seem to be wanting to work. So I'm still working on that. But in the meantime, invitations will be going out tomorrow afternoon. We're now there. Okay. Now, for those of you who are going to get invites, just know this. There'll be 2 invites coming tomorrow of 1, which will be for the 22nd. But the invite for the party the night before will be coming a little bit separately because we need it for, handling headcount for food and everything else like that. So be prepared to get your invite for the 22nd, but make sure you're planning on coming in on the 21st, no matter what, which also would serve you well if you want to attend the 22nd. So watch for it tomorrow afternoon sometime. If you should be getting your invite if you're on the list.
It's really funny about this is so weird. So finally, one of Bob's comments showed up on the one machine, but there's actually 2. And I see Christy just commented. She can't wait. First of all, hi, Christy. And we're glad you can't wait. But it shows up on one, but not the other. This is weird. And now the one that was Bob's just disappeared. All right, this is just crazy. Anyway, StreamYard. But we're going to have a little sneak preview. We're going to have a sporting panel because, look, this is the CRM Playaz. We love sports. And we love like TV and entertainment stuff. We like what we do in the industry. So we're kind of trying to bring all these things together. We like what we do with PBN. So we're putting together a really cool sports panel. We're putting together a panel on VC and private equity and seed and inception investing in the enterprise app space and how AI is kind of disrupting that or potentially disrupting that.
Right.
You and the Golden Smog of CRM and Christy named him the AI kid too, by the way. And he's also, I don't know, he might have retired the Midas and Martech one because he's already got like 3 or 4 other names. But you and Anand are going to tackle gaming industry and kind of why that's important.
PC and video games, not gambling. Oh,
that would be cool too.
Not to me.
And a host of other things. The Great Debate. We're gonna have some debate segments. We're gonna be streaming shows from the venue, which is the Atlanta Tech Village. And Christy, I think, will be at one of those shows in the hot seat. Lots of stuff is going to be going on. So I don't know if this is quite like the what's that thing with the Price, not Price Waterhouse, but when people go door to door and they knock on your door and they give you like a big check.
Oh yeah, the what is
publishing house, clearing house, or something.
Publishers Clearinghouse.
Publishers Clear. So yeah, this will not. You don't get a knock on the door tomorrow. It'll just be like, I don't know, what is it? It's going to be an email or something.
Tomorrow, yeah, just it's an email with an evite.
Okay.
and no check.
No, yeah, no check. So just an invite. Yeah, Christy, we definitely. Oh, yeah, in the hot seat live
You're gonna do the twist, chubby checker.
to the twist. We'll
To
do.
the twist we'll do on the
You're
ITHS.
gonna be dancing and doing this stuff. Anyway, uh, and we will make sure there's a nice warm seat for whatever happens. There.
And if you happen to be there, um, there will be an opportunity in the great debate questions. We're gonna have one question session. There'll be three analysts of and four chairs, and the fourth chair, if you're there, might be filled by you. If you're up for it and you want to be filling that fourth chair to debate with them about whatever the topic is, the seat's waiting for you.
Yep. The whole idea of this conference is we just want to try some different stuff. I mean, we've all gone to a lot of conferences over the years, and things that we would have liked to have done or have somebody do. Some of those things just never got done, and we're going to try to do some of that stuff. I don't know. We'll see how it works out, but come in and experiment with us. Ooh, musical analysts. Musical analysts. You mean like music critics or something? That would be
musical. Some analysts going to sing?
No, we don't want that. There's only a handful that might be able to do that. Is Jeff Dickerson coming?
Oh, she means musical. Yeah, Jeff Nicholson is actually coming. He can handle it easily. She means like musical chairs.
Oh, really?
Musical analyst. Get musical it? Empty analyst. Chair, the whole thing.
That would be, yeah, now she put it.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
I got it for briefly after a second or two of deep thought.
Yeah, musical analysts. Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, we're open to all sorts of ideas here. So keep them coming. But yeah, we're getting excited. Things are starting to shape up. We'll see how all things go. I'm optimistic. How about you?
Oh God, yeah, it's gonna be fun. We already have a lot of people who are genuinely interested in it. So, it's not like we're operating from a vacuum here and hoping that some people show up. Pretty sure they're gonna.
Maybe they'll show up for the bourbon and biscuits or donuts or whatever.
Bourbon and donuts the night before. Well, they should. You'll be getting separate invites for that.
Bourbon and donuts. Nobody else has done that, folks.
Well, here's the deal. Typically, like when I did the one for Zoho, I ordered. I searched the country, ordered it, had things shipped. I decided that's way too much work, so I found a place in Atlanta, actually, called Local Vines. I did some research. I found a place called Local Vines that carries, at least inventory listed, is 279 different bourbons. Right. So it's a roughly 20,000 square foot liquor store.
That would have been a great Stump the Godfather question.
Yeah, well, I'll give it to you.
No.
So anyway, I'm going to order everything from there, and that way we can just either go pick it
You're
up.
Gonna order everything from
all
there?
The bourbons from there.
279 bourbons?
No, I'm not going to order all the bourbons. I'm going to find the 5 bourbons and the multiple bottles I'm going to need from them.
The 5 bourbons.
5 different bourbons.
It's like the 5 heartbeats.
No, actually, if you drink enough of this, there'll be no heartbeats.
All right, so we'll be keeping you posted as things shore up, and we'd love to see. Well, like I said, if you get something tomorrow, that means we really would love for you to join us. All right,
and pretty much everybody on this comment stream is getting it. So,
well, except for one person. Oh, look, it's Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, even Bob is invited. We would love to have Bob join us. All right. So this is going to be a little bit of a different show. It's kind of an impromptu show. It's something that, I don't know, I guess it kind of came up yesterday when I was talking to the Bot Father.
There we go.
AKA Dan. Yeah, I saw a little blink there. What happened?
Yeah, no, that was me changing the profile again.
Oh, okay.
I got it to work. Notice all of a sudden I have color.
Yeah.
That pallid green I was that made me look like I had just been sick.
I thought you were just sick because Sven hadn't joined us.
Well, that just makes me heart sick.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are playing. We're going to up north to New England, and we're gonna be playing the
That's
Pats.
good. Well, I see. I'm lucky when it comes to the Giants. I have nothing to root for, so
Yeah, well, I'm
makes it
almost
easy on
there.
me.
Although they've got something to root for because they actually seem like they might have found their quarterback. So
Mr. Jones.
yeah, no, Drake May.
Oh, that's right, Drake May, not Mac
Yeah,
Jones. Who's Mac Jones quarterback for now?
I don't know. He's
He's
probably
somebody.
backing up somebody. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I had this conversation with Dan Miller, who is now he's emeritus analyst for Opus, which is a fancy way of saying he's kind of retired, but still passionate about the space and wants to
Oh, why don't
continue
you
on.
call him venerable?
I actually did, but not on the show. I just kind of, he fits. As a matter of fact, can we drop a little? One of the things that we were hoping to bring to you guys at our event is a session called the Venerables, and because we know a lot of good, really smart, been there, done that folks who would fit that venerable qualification. Dan is one of them. Dan is coming, by the way, and
Yep.
we I
And
think it's going to be
the only
long.
one of that panel who might not come is me, as far as I can tell.
And another, people like the venerable Steve Gilmore. It would be great to have a panel like of venerables to talk about things.
Well, the panel name will be Around the Block multiple times.
Yeah. So anyway, I was talking to Dan yesterday, and we were talking about see, yeah, Christy's with it. See, Christy, I like her taste.
Oh, the other person we ought to give a shout out to another speaker we're having, which is Stephanie Boyer. Stephanie she's amazing. Okay, she's an educator. She's a professor. She's got a technology for basically training kids how to be salespeople that uses AI and was actually way ahead of the curve. And is now still a bit ahead of the curve as far as the quality and its use of context and its changing nature and its evolution. And she also is astounding at how much she genuinely cares about her students. So she's going to talk to education and business and education and where it's going and what's going on and blah 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 blah. And she's a great personable human and a really she's very well regarded, award winning multiple times, and we're very happy to have her.
Just another reason for folks who do get that invite to join us. That, and we're even giving away a little swag too. So
yeah, and who knows? This one I'm not promising, but we have a lot of equipment we don't need, right? And I will bring some to hand out to people while we're there.
All right, so I'm getting back to Dan because my conversation, I got a great conversation with Dan Miller. Talking about what the emeritus retired life is like for him, and he had posted something on LinkedIn about, although he's retiring from the day-to-day analyst stuff, he's still interested and particularly interested in personal AI and how all this stuff that we're talking about today will impact that. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So we talked a little bit about that. And of course, as we were talking about all this stuff, AI and, just going around the bend on certain things, for some reason, I just asked him, we just had this presidential election thing. I didn't even know if he knew about it or not, but
yeah,
he kind of knew
about it from all of that.
Yeah. And so I asked him, what do you think the new administration, is it going to have any kind of impact on what goes on with AI and particularly where it kind of fits in terms of the enterprise? So I just threw that out there. And here's a little taste of what he said. We just had an election, Jen. I don't know if you heard that we had a presidential election. What kind of concerns or issues, or maybe none, do you see?
Let's assume that for the next 2 years, all of the limitations are off, because we all know that Elon rails against paperwork and restrictions and bureaucracy and anything that's slowed down. Everything sort of speeds up because you're not going to have friction from government oversight and all that. And I have this question, if I'm into personal AI, do I care that Sam and Elon and Jensen are figuring out these really, really huge models that move toward, because their objective is AGI, is artificial general intelligence. But my interest is in artificial personal accomplishment. And there is an intersection there, but there's a bunch of issues around, let's call them large enough. We had this conversation, large enough language models, or domain specific or personal specific language models that aren't huge, and they're not in the cloud, they're closer to me. So there's some technological challenges maybe Elon and these people will get to, but it's like, how much can you do on your phone when you're not connected to anything? And it's still part of that building confidence and trust in these technologies to help me in ways that I understand. And I don't think they're addressing that. This is more what's the raw power how big can I make these things, and when will they be totally autonomous and a general intelligence? And I have I have some interest in that, but it's more scary than trustworthy.
All right, that was a lot. Dan, Dan said a lot of things there. I don't know if he completely addressed the general question, but it was very fascinating to hear him, because this is a guy that's been involved with this for decades. And I kidded him about, you picked a really interesting time to retire, because it's like you're on the brink of all this stuff that you've really been talking about happening. And of course we had a kind of a good joke with that, but it really posed the question. I mean, we're seeing, I think I got a picture here, because right before, as we were talking about this, is that thing, he mentioned Elon. And of course we all know what's going on with Elon is kind of the whisperer in Trump's ear when it comes to all this AI stuff. And Elon has a lot of reasons to be the whisperer and to kind of shape what goes on with AI. So with all that as a kind of a backdrop, I really was sort of interested in if we can get some people who are with us, in the comments section, if they had some thoughts about what they thought the impact of the new administration will be on the development and the adoption of AI, particularly in the enterprise. If they had any strong thoughts or opinions on it. So we've already got a couple coming in, but we're just going to open it up. And if you do have something, we're calling it an open mic. So if you have something you wanted to say about this topic, we're kind of wanting to make sure it stays focused, because this could go completely off the rails if we open it up to all sorts of other opinions on what could happen from a more pure political standpoint. But we're really focused on, what do you think is this new administration is going to mean, or the impact is going to have strictly on the AI and the Gen AI and all that kind of stuff? Was it less regulation, move faster, get scarier? But we're not trying to talk about the whole big shoot match, just the impact it's going to have in the enterprise with the impact that AI has on the enterprise. So with all that said, let us know in the comments if you have something to say, and we're going to start reading some of these things. But we will be glad to bring you on too. So let us know if not only share your opinion, but do you want to come on screen and join us to do that? This is what we're doing. So, Paul, do you have anything to say before we really dig in here?
No.
Let me go back.
Yeah, let's start with. I mean, there is one point that's really interesting in there. I won't say which, but
see, Ralph was the first one that kind
right.
of jumped in here. I think he was. Wait a minute, I need to go to my other screen. It might not have been Ralph. It might have been Bob. So I'm gonna park. This is. I got to look at both screens to see exactly what these things came. So Bob was the first one. All right. So this is what Bob had to say. We will repeal Joe Biden's dangerous. Oh, this is quotes. Okay, quotes. All right, this is quote. This is not Bob. This is a quote Bob is sharing with us. We will repeal Joe Biden's dangerous executive order that hinders AI innovation and impose. When was that, by the way? And imposes radical left-wing ideas on the development of this technology. And then there's another quote. In this place, Republicans support AI development rooted in free speech and human flourishing. What does that mean? I don't know what it means, but do you know who said those things, by the way, Bob?
Bob, though, a little later on, does make the point related to that. What's imposing the hindrance?
I want me to
go down.
Is it the AI safety one?
Yeah, the thing that Ralph is talking about.
This one?
Yeah. So I've gone to it's NIST, right? National Institute of Science and Technology driven. Apparently, it's an executive order, which means it can be repealed as an executive order. It's not a law, right? So,
okay, let me queue up. I'm gonna while you're talking about this, Christy, I'm getting ready to send you a link so you can join us. There's somebody that says LinkedIn user add me. We don't know who you are. Let us know who you are, because I don't necessarily know who you are, but we know who Christy is. So we're gonna get her the link and have her join us. But continue on with that thought about
because NIST, the Safety Institute is AI Safety Institute is executive order can be repealed by another basically an executive order rescinded by the next president, which I'm sure Trump will do. I will say that, it's interesting. It does two things come to mind for me. One is, of course, with the rails off, there'll be all kinds of people moving ahead, and there'll be a lot of crap that comes into it. There will be very little monitoring for deep fakes and things like that when it comes to voice, and on the other hand, or for even the quality of it, which makes it's kind of interesting. You remember when we had Kevin Nix on a few weeks ago, and his company was Rocket Surgery, and if I'm really oversimplifying what it does, it's basically QA for AI. That kind of work becomes it's important as is. It becomes 10 times more important if Trump is doing things like repealing the executive order for that NIST has, because it'll basically be private sector providing the ability to monitor AI in its own, and keep guardrails there. Do I know for an absolute fact that with Musk, doing what he does, and that all the rails will come off? No, I don't know that. And, I imagine there'll be enough pushback so that a few things here and there will remain. But do I think, I think there'll be some innovation that does actually come out of it, but there'll also be a lot of crap that we're going to have to get through. And it'll also potentially even be a big setback, because one of the reasons for guardrails was providing the foundation so that when you are building something, the AI is not going to start hallucinating and do things like that. With no guardrails, regulations, technical architecture that would tend to prevent that. Who knows where this thing's going to go? It's like somebody shooting off their mouth nonstop with no social sense at all.
All right, so Ray, that the LinkedIn user was Ray. So Ray, check your email or your LinkedIn messaging. I just shot you the link. And joining us right now is Christy Tupper.
Hey, Christy.
Hey guys,
Hey,
twice in
Mamba.
1 week.
Yeah. So, and also there he is,
Mr.
Mr.
Right.
Ray Wong. Hey. All right, guys. So yeah, we'll throw it open. This is what impact do you think Trump administration is going to have on AI in the enterprise? We'll hear Christy. Why don't you shoot off first, and then we'll get Ray.
Well, I actually asked 3 AIs what they thought about that question. So I had the AIs reactions.
Okay.
Now, Gemini respectfully abstained and wouldn't answer.
Really interesting.
It did. Claude came back with some key points, generally favorable. He thinks that the Trump administration is going to be pushing innovation and a lot of investment in AIs and AI startups. And ChatGPT came back with innovation, deregulation, a focus on using AI in national security and global competitiveness. So the AIs think.
And ChatGPT said, if you want any more, subscribe to my pro version.
No,
I'm just
Claude
wondering-
said that.
I'm just wondering
ChatGPT still likes me right now.
if ChatGPT is trying to kiss up because they know Elon is trying to get in with their AI, and Sam is a little nervous. Oh, what do you think, Ray? What's going on?
Yeah, I think the most important part is we have overplayed the consumer protections at the FTC of Lena Khan. Nice person, totally doesn't understand how mergers and acquisitions should work. The basic rule with antitrust is there should be do no harm to the consumer. And she took it beyond that level, and that really requires her to be removed. If you remove her, what would have happened? You'd have Adobe Figma. You'd have startups that would be acquired by larger companies to give them pipe. Innovation occurs at the startup level, and startups need to have that option of being acquired by a larger company, whether it's in tech or pharma or financial services. It doesn't matter. There needs to be a pipe. There was no pipe for 4 years. We had no IPO markets. We had very little M&A, and that's really the consequence, and that stalls innovation. So I think the most important thing you're going to see with having a Trump administration is that regulatory aspect is going to be lightened up. It doesn't mean you don't have guardrails. It's just let's get it back to a normal level of M&A and go back to the founding principles of what antitrust is about. The second piece is different on the AI side. What's going to happen on the AI side is we really don't know where this is going to go, but you have world leaders like Macron who says basically we've gone too far in Europe, right? And it's the equivalent of what we're doing with stem cell testing, what we didn't do in the US because we were afraid, right? And what Europe has done is a similar piece where actually it hinders their innovation in terms of where AI is headed. But we do need guardrails, right? We've talked about guardrails like, being transparent, being explainable, being reversible, having a level of training and having a human in the loop, right? And those are all basic things that need to be there. But the land grab to go regulate tech for the sake of regulating tech will stop. And I think that's what's, we need some guardrails there. The third one, which you didn't talk about, is really, if you think about where blockchain, Bitcoin, DLTs are headed, it's going to open it up. And one of the things that's hindering the US with Bitcoin, blockchain, and crypto is the fact that we don't have clear regulations. And UAE, for example, has really clear regulations, which is why a lot of the innovations hanging out there. And given the connections from JD Vance back to the PayPal mafia, those guys will actually make sure that, hey, at least crypto is protected, tech is thought about in a way as a national asset, and actually take us there. The last piece is the most important piece, which we don't really think about, which is energy and manufacturing. We don't and we won't be able to compete with China because China's cost of energy production is now zero. You cannot compete with zero. And so we have got to fix the energy infrastructure. And it's not 100 megawatt small modular reactors. It's 2 gigawatt nuclear power plants. Because at the point we're going at this moment, we won't have the energy for the AI. We won't have the energy for the tech. And we've got to solve that energy piece. And we've got to get to advanced manufacturing. China has a problem where they're going like this in terms of population growth. We're like this, right? Europe is like this. India is like this. We're going to have so much automation we need in the factories to be able to do that. I just had lunch with someone like literally 2 hours ago, and they had purchased a really large plant for massive automation for manufacturing, and they're getting power from a regional power authority. That's the kind of stuff that's going to have to happen. We've got to create that kind of policy. I'm not one for an industrial policy. We should be market-based, but the main point is we should be thinking about goals in that area if we want to be competitive. And I'm very American, so that's, I won't apologize for that.
So wait, so how's the policy going to be affected? Meaning, it's going to be
Permitting. Permitting for plants will become easier, right? You still want to make sure there's pollution control, but you don't want the permitting to be ridiculous, right? You might not have prevailing wage for labor to get a plant up and running. You might do it in a different way, right? You're going to be thinking about how we actually get, I mean, it's simple. This guy has to connect a port to rail lines. Rail lines have to connect to the factory. The factory has to be able to get a connection point. That's 7 permits. How do you fast track the permits, right? It's going to be stuff like that.
I want to ask you, so if the Figma and Adobe acquisition had gone through, what do you think would have been the ramification or the impact of that on some of the things you just talked about?
Yeah, well, the problem is Adobe's in a business that is eventually going to be commoditized, right? I'm not saying you can commoditize creativity, but the tools for creativity are being rapidly commoditized.
Oh, yeah.
But how you coordinate work is actually very important, because how humans interact with AI or machines is really where the opportunities are. And Adobe wasn't able to get a product to market that was successful enough. All the kids are on Figma. That's the point. They were going after a younger demographic. It's vertically integrated, right, in that sense, but it's not going to create a competitive dynamic that's bad for the consumer. In fact, it's actually better for the consumer. You can make that argument. And so if companies like Figma and Adobe can't get something passed, and Adobe was seen as a very, very progressive company, what is a company that is not seen as very progressive able to get an MAA out the door? It's even worse, right? And so this is creating that really weird thing. So you should let the market decide. And if there's a consumer harm that's actually you can prove, then yeah, you should actually block the merger. So, and of course, you also have to think about the global competitiveness as US versus China. How are you going to actually play that?
So Chrissy, what do you got to say about these things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't play much in the energy space, so that's one that I'm not real familiar with. I agree with your points around the innovation being opened up and startups being the place where all of that innovation happens. I think you're absolutely right there. I also agree that I think the future of knowledge work is definitely in AI, and somebody in the LinkedIn chat had said something about humans being replaced by agentic AI. And it's not that, right? It's more like the agentic AI actually facilitates humans doing the creative work that humans do best, right? You don't have to do the mundane tasks that are just sitting and typing, or the rote things that you do every day that can be easily modified. You can actually focus on the things that humans do well and let the AI take over. I would be a little concerned about the crypto area. I don't know if you guys saw the Godius Maximus. Did you see that, right? Yeah. Go out and look up Godius Maximus. It was a bunch of agentic AI creating a crypto, and then people actually physically, literally investing in it. And now it's worth like some crazy amount of money. And it got there like overnight.
It's a penny. It's okay.
they gave it an X account, and it just took off. It posted.
It's like 90 cents. It's 90 cents. Sorry.
Oh, is it back down again?
It's yeah. No, but look, the thing around this AI piece, it's actually different. What we really should be thinking about is the skills that are actually being replaced or put into an agent, and then how those agents actually move to advisors. What we're missing in all these conversations about AI is that it's about accelerating decision velocity. Can we make faster decisions? And the question is not when do you automate, the question is when and where do you insert a human? Because your level of decision making and the level of skills you have below have to operate at machine scale. We operate at human scale. So machine scale is this fast, human scale is over here. And so just like we have trading curves on stock markets, when like, oh, this market dropped 5%, you reset the algos, you calm everything down, you move. We're going to have to build stuff to be at human scale.
What about the regulation, though, in terms of if all the AI is able to speed up these decisions, but that doesn't mean they're always great decisions. So where does the regulation come in to make sure that things do not scale, or the errors or the bad things don't become preposterous things because we can't stop them in time, and humans can't impact that because those things are moving at such a rate and we don't move at that rate? Where does the regulation fit in to kind
I've
of
been
help
thinking about that a lot, right? And it starts with the framework, which you might have seen before that I put out. On one end is centralization, on the other end is decentralization. So think of the x-axis that way. And then on the other end is culture of abundance and culture of scarcity. Right now we have systems that are decentralized, that are centralized scarcity, right? It's forced. It's forcing us to make decisions we don't necessarily want. Humans typically want decentralized abundance, and that's what we're trying to achieve. And the problem with AI at this moment is it's unlike the internet age, right? And the internet age takes everything up into digital, 5G, cloud, mobile, IoT, all that kind of stuff. They were just offshoots of the internet, right? Now we can see with like the demarcation of 6 months that, hey, look, this is really an age of AI. So AI is, the opposite. It is centralized. It is closed. It is a few players win. It's more expensive. The internet was decentralized, open, right? Lots of players, cheaper. And that's by design. So we have to fix that. So we have to move from something where systems are built persuasive, like they're trying to get your attention, suck all your time, optimize for the central good and the common good, to consensual, where we actually argue and decide, hey, how do we make a decision, to mindful, where it's actually working on our behalf. And that's a decision that's up to us. So the example I use all the time is it's 2050, you're flying from San Francisco to New York. It's it's like a plane with no pilot in it. And, a bird strike hits. Wait, I've heard that story. That's Captain Scully with, landing a plane on the Hudson. So there's a 0.002% chance that you could do that. Okay. But the decisions that have to be made in real time is very different. It's one, would you like to renew your insurance policy? Or would you like to cancel it? It's not, do we save 10 million people down there? Or do we optimize for the 200 people up there? Right? That's what we actually have to come down to. And it's philosophically at that level. How do you regulate that? No, you design systems for the purpose you're trying to get to. And then the public says, no, I'd rather optimize for the 200 versus the 10 million below, right? And as a human, I would always revoke my insurance policy.
Right. Well, opt in, opt out. Well, I mean, that kind of decision or that kind of system has actually been an ideal system that we've been looking at for decades. I mean, I remember even in our early days when we were looking at that, the whole idea was make sure that the customer always had their choice to do what they had to do. And your systems were designed to optimize the offers that you give them the choice of, right? Meaning personally optimized. Now, if you go to Dan Miller's comments earlier, he's basically talking about the same thing, right? He's in a different way. But what he took it to was also the models that would be necessary to probably do that are not necessarily large language, monster models. Okay, but taking it back to the bigger question of the incoming administration, I guess my and this is a question that I don't have an answer to particularly, but I mean, to me, given my politics, of course, there's a lot of loose cannons in this administration, like really, really loose cannons, like so loose that the wheels are already 4/5 off, and all you have to do is breathe, and they'll fall off, right? So I'm concerned because the whole idea of the loose cannon is you don't actually know what they're going to do. There's nothing predictable, particularly about them, and it's not necessarily always bad, but it typically is. So my question becomes, given that we're looking at, to both your points, we're looking at how do we provide that kind of ability to choose on the part of the user, the end user, so to speak, or the customer or the citizen. How do we provide that ability when we have, ultimately it is going to take, and it goes to your point, Ray, earlier, it's going to take some regulation for that to actually happen, right? I mean, just to get it in a place where there's a framework to make it work successfully. And I'm not 100% certain I'm not even talking about the executive branch here, and now I'm talking about the incoming Senate and House, among other things. I'm not sure they're capable of, let's say, putting forward something that would pass in a bipartisan spirit enough so to speak, to, and again, it doesn't have to be bipartisan at this point. It has to be at least one-sidedly universal. I'm not sure they're capable of doing that. Now, my question is, actually succeeding at getting what's necessary through to make, to your points, make the citizens have choice, get their choices. I'm not sure they're ready to do it or capable of doing it. Now, I may be wrong. I'm not. Again, they're loose cannons. So, what do you guys think about the fact that we're also dealing with, because we're always dealing with law, orders, regulations, and things like that, that the nature of the beast. Is this incoming group able to do things for the good of the citizenry in a way that provides ultimately with the things that you two were both talking about when it came to human choice? That's a hard question.
Okay, let's break it into 3 parts, right? And Christy, we should do it this way. So one, do our legislators and do their aides understand what we're doing? And the short answer for me is no, right? They need a lot of help. But the good news is there's a connection back to tech. There's a Silicon Valley DC connection that was there with the Obama administration, right? That was there with the Clinton administration. Now there is one that's a little bit different with the Trump administration. Trump didn't have it in the first administration, had very little connection to tech. He does now with JD Vance through the PayPal mafia, right? And so David Sachs, right? All those folks around that area, through Elon, through other folks. I mean, that is basically that connection point. And they're more free market libertarian, right? So that's what you're probably going to see. I don't know what you think, Christy.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's exactly what will happen.
So,
and I also agree to your point that they probably really don't understand it, and they really should understand it before they make any kind of regulations.
Yes, I agree. And it's hard for them to understand that, right? Because if you look at China's Politburo, it's like 98% engineers. For us, it's like 2%, right? Or engineers or science or STEM background. So it's very hard to make those kind of decisions. The second piece is a little bit different, right? What kind of regulation will come out of this? Right. And that's all the lobbying and all the jockeying that's going to happen. But it's going to be more economic focused than anything else. Right. So there's a national defense element, which is we have to protect ourselves from the competing war with China. But it's really, we've got to outlast China for 20 years. Right. Because their population is going to decline. So that's really the game. Like, can we outlast them for 20 years? Right. But
I'm wondering if I can outlast you that for 20 years. I'm 75, man.
So, but the second piece is really, okay, so let's say we do outlast China for 20 years. It's the economic aspect of it, right? Are American standards being set up? Are we basically still dominating in terms of patents? Are we still applying those patents to make money? Do we still have capital markets that support startups? Can those capital markets take something out, and do we have the best IPO market in the world? Are people still coming to the US with their ideas and their innovation because they want to achieve their dream, right? That's a different story. We have to create the conditions for that if we want to stick around. So.
I wanted to, cause Thomas has been writing up a storm here, and some of it, he is definitely not in agreement with some of the things that are being said.
Of course not.
Thomas, Thomas, if you would like to join us, let us know. Because
get back to that LinkedIn page.
Yeah, we want to kind of explore all this stuff. I mean, so if you're out there and you've been putting some really interesting things in, he said something to the effect of, Paul, this incoming group is not even willing to do good for all, just for the few or their cronies. He said something about trying to regulate a technology as powerful as AI is a must. Sadly, bad actors will not really care. That kind of brings up a little quote from the Brohammer, because I asked him about this, and he's on a plane somewhere, but he had something to say. And I like this. Welcome to bipolar AI, which is basically enterprises with global footprints that also operate in the U.S. as well as everywhere else. They're going to have to figure out a way to balance the unregulation that happens in the U.S. with the overregulation, basically, which happens over in the UK and Europe, basically.
Less so many.
Bipolar AI. Is that something that we're going to be living with for a while?
Thomas is looking for the link. Right?
I sent. Oh, okay. Let me send you the link. But it sounds like this is inevitable, because there's no way we're going to have a lot of regulation, especially with the new administration come in. Do you think Europe is going to deregulate any of the stuff that they just put into effect when it comes to this AI stuff?
No, Europe's
Anybody?
not going to deregulate anything. I don't think.
No,
but
no,
but where? So when we talk about regulating it in the U.S., again, it goes back to Ray's point. We need to educate people on exactly what they're regulating,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The future of knowledge work is in AI. That requires significantly less regulation to help people get their jobs done every day. The Gotius Maximus agents that are out there creating their own X accounts and their own crypto, that's probably something we should have some regulations around, right? So when it comes to regulations, you have to know what you're regulating.
And by the time they figure out what they're regulating, it'll be too late for that because it already
this
moved on to
administration will be out the
something
next
Well,
one.
that brings up a point, though. So earlier in the discussion, way earlier, in one comment, Bob Fagel pointed out the American, what's it called? The American U.S. Artificial Intelligence Safety Institute, which was created by executive order, which means, of course, it could be rescinded by executive order too. So should something like that, which is a guardrail institute for AI, at least in theory, I have very little knowledge of how well it's done its job one way or the other. Should that be a law, not an executive order? Should something like that become a law? Because then it becomes a whole different animal and it has some actual foundation. This way, if they don't like it, they can just say, that executive order, you're out. So should it be? I mean, do we need those kind of institutions given what we're talking about? Let's say a significantly less regulated, I don't want to say deregulated, because, you know, I remember when trucking got deregulated and how many towns across America it killed by deregulating it because it wasn't a profitable route that they had been required to service nonetheless. I went to one of those towns and it was horrifying to see what I saw. So big term deregulation, not something I've ever been for. Some deregulation in certain areas, of course, at times it's needed, other times more regulation is needed. In this case, what do we need? Do we need this institute to go from executive order to law? Do we need something put in via law that's like this? What do we need to do?
While we're thinking about that, I'm going to bring Thomas in because
there he is.
Jumped on. All right, Thomas, thanks for joining us. And we're just going to let you, the floor is yours. You've heard a lot of what is going on. Where do you fit in this discussion?
Answer my question after this.
Well, Paul said something about whether the incoming government will be able to put proper guardrails around things AI or other things. I don't think they are even willing. And Ray, to your point, yes, they have connections to the Silicon Valley avant-garde or some of it. Just that it's the wrong part of it. Actually, I do not think that they should follow business people that much. These types of business people of all. So they should look more into research. What I do think is that let's say the train has already left the station with regards to regulation. It should happen, but I don't think it'll happen in a meaningful way anymore. The train's just gone. And the folks who should get regulated couldn't care less about regulations, actually. Be there in China or in the US. One of them just got a very big position and wants to, well, how did he formulate it? Kind of disrupt the system. Sends shockwaves through the system. This is what he just said, right? So I'm not as optimistic as you, Ray. Really not. People are egoistic.
Anybody want to jump in on that one?
So now rant is ended.
And thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You know what, but Thomas, I'm thinking you're saying some things that a lot of other people would like to say but aren't. You know.
Well, I got 2 other passports.
Should we be worried at all about any? Because there are going to be a few people in Trump's ear that also have some pretty specific special interests in things
No,
shaping up one way or the
no,
other? Should we worry about that?
The answer is no, right?
Yeah.
Because if you understand how a bill gets passed into law, that's at a broad scale law level, no. Yes, on an executive order level. But to get Congress, right, to get the House to agree with Senate is like impossible to begin with, right? And to let alone get the president and the House and the Senate to agree, like we naturally have gridlock, right? But with the slim majorities that are actually there, you'll get some stuff done, but there's too much to pile in on day one, right? I mean, day one is focused on two things, getting all the tax stuff correct and the budget stuff correct, and deportation. It's not on tech. That's day one, right? I don't know what the next 99 days are going to like, but tech will have some place in there, right? Economy, and it's tariffs and deportation on day one, right? Day two, I mean, maybe we'll get to tech on day 7, right? But that's how fast they've got to move. But the tech stuff, it comes back to stuff around like, IRA, like Inflation Reduction Act, aptly poorly named Inflation Reduction Act, right? Will get gutted. All the green initiatives will get gutted. There won't be anything left out of that, right? That's the first thing they're going to do, find some money, right? But the second thing they got to do is figure out, do we really want to continue with CHIPS Act, or how will CHIPS Act look like in the future? Is there a crypto act that basically says, do we put 5% of holdings in Bitcoin in the US reserves, right? That's the stuff in their heads at the moment, right? But that's, we're not day one issue. Tech is like a day 7 or day 14 issue. So that's kind of what the gauge looks like.
All right, because we're running out of time here. So I did mean that literally. I just mean, it's okay. All right, so I just caught myself for some reason. All right, so each of you go around. Let's go around the table. What do you expect to see the first year when it comes to any? I know, Ray, you started touching on it, but what do you really expect to see this first year when it comes to what they do with AI from a big picture perspective?
I follow capital market flows. That's the most important piece. Where's the money going? I think investment's going to come back into the U.S. Emerging markets going to get crushed. There'll be a lot more push for U.S.-based AI investments. People are going to feel safer about those U.S.-based AI investments because they know that there's an exit, right? There's an M&A, there's an IPO, there's an opportunity. I think that helps the tech market, but it only helps the players. We have to help the players that are new, the emerging players and the innovations and the startups. So there has to be some kind of balance to actually help the startups get there. But you can't pick winners. You can create policies, but you can't pick winners. And I think that's what you're going to see out of the first year.
Thomas?
I, to some extent, agree with Ray. There will be a push into investment into AI and other technologies. There also will be a winner takes it all mentality. It means I very much agree that startups or smaller ones should get their own protected area to grow, or well, to get started at all. And I fear that will not happen, because this is a winner takes it all market, and the market shares are already pretty much there, unless OpenAI fizzles out for whatever smart or not so smart reason. Just to put one name there.
Christy?
I agree with Ray 100% with everything you said. I think there's going to be investment. Yeah, this is not in the hot seat. I think there's going to be investment in the startups and in innovation. I think they're going to want to see innovation, and I think they're going to start to figure out how to apply it within the government itself as well. And so that's probably where you will start to see regulations around AI come in.
Yeah. We're in an era of exponential efficiency. If you're not 10x better or 1/10 the cost, go home. We don't have time to talk to you. Right, $1 million drones versus $1 million missiles versus drones, right? It's $100 drones. That's a horrible ratio. Look at UPI, which is the payment system in India, at 0 to a penny transaction versus SWIFT for $25. Right, that disruption is happening right now. Right, China's power curve to produce $0, 0 kilowatts, 0 cents per kilowatt hour. You can't beat that. TVA is at 5 cents, right? Can we get to 3 cents? Can we get to 1? Like, that's still 5 times more than China, right? We have got to think in exponential efficiency.
We got to, and we need to think in a second way. how to benefit the people, not only the few.
So
Oh, remember, I wrote a book on digital giants. I don't believe that. I'm just kidding. No. But that's the thing, right? Going from what my friend Ari Kayumi talks about, right? Persuasive,
right.
consensual to mindful is really that way to think about who's benefiting, system or the individual, and you're going to have to figure out where the balance is. But we have to choose. We have to have choices in that. So.
And by the way, Ralph is wrong. Not the fastest gun will win, but the one with the shovels. Who sells the shovels?
That's always the
that
one who
will
wins.
win.
That's why
That one
NVIDIA
will
is
win.
winning at this point.
They don't need guns. They hire them.
Yes, you hired them.
Oh,
yeah, so I
I've
think
got to run.
okay, bye.
thanks, man.
Ray.
Thanks for
Bye,
joining us.
Okay.
Bye. So I think to pretty much, I think everybody's point really, there will be some initial, kind of an initial, I'll call it semi-enthusiastic investment in technology. I think there will actually be some protections for startups. Where I'm not terribly optimistic is that's coming in a period where, regardless of the fact that the administration holds the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch, there's always a period where it takes a while for all of that to settle and consolidate. And when that happens, then we're at a different ballgame than this initial enthusiasm, right? So because there will be other things at play, and I can't say this specific thing is going to be what does that, but there'll be multiple triggers, because I've seen it in every administration, even when they're good ones, right? There's multiple triggers that set off, and then it's not that they disrupt, they break up, they start destroying the things that look like that was going great for a while, right? Look, a great example on the simplest possible level was that incredible upsurge in the stock market the day that the election, when Trump was announced the winner. I mean, I made a ton of money on that, and I voted against him, right? So, right, so that's what I'm saying. But that's initial enthusiasm, But the uncertainty, all the uncertainties that exist in the political system, I'm not talking about tech, I'm not talking about economics, I'm talking about the political operatives and the political players. Those uncertainties end up, actually, to your very early point, Thomas, on, I don't want to say cronyism particularly, but basically it is a matter of self-interest, right? Their self-interest will dominate, and believe me, their self-interest is not even their so-called collaborators' self-interest, their different self-interest. So those kind of things throw monkey wrenches into everything, and it happens almost the only time it didn't quite happen, there were two times it didn't quite happen that way, was during Reagan and during Clinton, right? It didn't quite happen that way. It went a different route. It happened, but not the route that even Obama, he had the first administration, he had the problem, not so much the second. So,
hey guys, I got to jump as well.
All right.
But this has been fun. Thanks.
All right. So I'm done.
Cheers, Christy.
Brent, what do you think?
I'm I can't believe I actually am gonna go back to something that my buddy John Colterice Lawson said.
Yeah,
about this.
It's not Friday. It's Friday tomorrow.
I know, but it was something that was really important or relevant, at least to me. We just came through this election, and all sorts of things were brought up. All sorts of topics were discussed. All sorts of surveys were taken about what are the important issues for this election. AI was not anywhere near close to being one of them, which means people just don't care that much about it right now. And that serves two kind of sides of the coin. The folks who want to control it, that gives them time to really figure out how they approach it. They didn't want it talked about, and regular people didn't really care about it that much because it wasn't one of those things that they feel, at least, is impacting their daily lives. Wait until it does. Then we're going to start hearing a lot more from the masses, so to speak. And unfortunately, I think by that time it'll be too late, because the folks who are shaping it will have already shaped it before the regular folks start to feel it.
We already see it now. Look at what Ray said, the $100 drone. So let's take away $100 and name it AI drone. It's already there. And the human manifests, the United Nations basically say AI autonomous weapons are a no-no. They are out there already. So
Well,
this
that shows you how
totally
much
confirming
the
what Brent says.
The UN is pretty toothless, so they can say anything they want.
Yeah,
And
they
it-
are a zombie.
So, well, but ultimately to the point that political systems are ours in particular, because it's on a decline, is particularly rather fluid right now, meaning it can go any way, anytime, and anything can trigger it. And it's not just volatile though; it's fluid, meaning it will bend, it will fall down, it will then get up, it will move over to the left, it will move over to the right, and all this is going to happen in 4 years, no matter how autocratic Trump might be, right? And AI will end up, in effect. Look, ultimately, all the things we're talking about the interested parties with AI. To Brent's point, most people are not that interested, but ultimately it just goes with that flow. It doesn't go with some other flow. It goes with the flow of the political people who have an interest in it, who want to make something happen in it at the time they want to make it happen. And then again, they might fall flat on their goddamn faces. The level of uncertainty is just insane. And I spent 22 years in politics and saw it every single damn day, and not a thing has changed in 50 years when it comes to that.
Yeah. I just think that follow the money. I forget where that initiated from, but we know the people whispering in certain set of ears are going to be whispering things that serve their purposes more than everybody else's purposes. Let's just be very blatant about that. And I think to a certain extent, it's going to work for them. At some point, we all might think, "Oh, it doesn't. We're getting what we need out of this." But there's going to come a time. It's just a historical fact. People that have absolute power, it gets them corrupted absolutely. And I'm not talking about any one particular person or the other. That's just the way history rolls. If you give one person or a small group of people that much power, eventually they're going to overstep, and it's going to have a huge impact that's going to blow back on them, because it's going to impact negatively so many people. So I would love to think otherwise, but I don't think history is going to change because of this particular episode.
I don't either.
No. Well, people are people.
People are people.
People are people. There's exactly. I mean, this is probably an unpopular statement, but there's exactly one reason why communism fails: because of people.
Well,
we need to be robots for it to succeed.
Well, the same technology, you give a good person this technology, they'll do great things.
Yeah.
Guess what? If a bad person this technology, they're going to do catastrophic things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is what it is, unfortunately, or fortunately. I don't know. Anyway, I'm glad. I didn't know what to expect out of what doing this, but it ended up pretty good.
It was a really good show.
It certainly was vivid.
Yeah,
I could see a great debate segment at the event on
Thomas, you're coming, right? You'll get your invite tomorrow.
Well, if I get invited, I of course come. How could I say no?
Also, don't forget to get your submission. I'll do it on the air here.
Submission?
Oh, you got it. You gave it to me.
Yes, you mean that submission?
Yes. Yes. Thomas is a paradigm. He got it to me earlier.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
Making us all look bad.
And all you other analysts out there, follow Thomas's lead. Get to me before tomorrow.
All right. And on that note, wow, it's Thursday night football too. Anyway, on behalf of Thomas and Ray and Christy and Ralph and anybody else, Bob was there earlier with us. I think that was pretty good.
Paul mentioned Dan.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players. And oh, you know what? I forgot. Did I put this up? I was supposed to show this picture. Let me show you this because I sent this email asking folks if they had any thoughts and they wanted to join us.
Oh yeah, Pete.
And I did. Pete put a video link of some comedian doing a stand up, which is kind of funny. But I heard back from Rebecca, and I need to show this.
Oh, I know. I know the picture you're putting up.
So Rebecca said, "Unfortunately, I'll be on a plane this afternoon." She did ask Patrick to join us, but as she feared, Patrick likes to avoid political talk. So, but that is a
Good
picture
on
of
him.
Patrick watching CRM Playaz, but it's staying true to his no comment when it comes to political talk. So anyway,
Good on him.
yeah. So, did you already say you're Paul Greenberg and all that?
No, I
stuff?
didn't.
All right, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and if Patrick is not enough for you, we'll throw in Minnie too. Man, it's a 2-dog day.
Two dog night.
We'll see
Two
you
dog
next
night.
week.
3 dog night. 2 dog day.